Good evening, everyone. My name is Athena von Hausen, and I'm from the City of White Rock. I'm one of our planners here. And tonight we're going to be talking about 1464 Vidal Street, and we're hosting their public information meeting. I'm just going to pull up an introductory presentation, and then we will allow the applicant to speak based on their presentation. So tonight we're considering the public information meeting for 1464 Vidal Street, and that includes a zoning bylaw amendment and a major development permit. So in terms of the purpose of this meeting, it's to inform the public of the intent and details of the proposal, and to clarify the scope of the proposal and any areas of relief sought by the applicant. It's also to receive feedback and address your questions or concerns during the meeting. And in terms of the meeting format, we're hosting it as a live event, and it's presented by Gerry Blonski Architect. The meeting is going to be recorded, and following the meeting, it'll be posted on the city's webpage. Questions will not be published until the question and answer section of the event. So at the end of the architects and landscape architects presentation, I will show you how to actually post a question or a comment. If any of the comments are not specific to the application or disrespectful or repetitive, we will not be publishing the comments. If you have any additional questions following the presentation, you can send them to me by email at avonhausen@whiterock.ca. I will bring this up again if you don't have time to write it down. So in terms of the next steps following this meeting, we will be reviewing your feedback and addressing any potential changes to the proposal. After this happens, we will present the application to the advisory design panel. And following the advisory design panel presentation, we will be preparing a zoning amendment bylaw for first and second reading and a draft development permit that will be presented to our Land Use and Planning Committee. If the Land Use and Planning Committee and Council support the application to move forward, we will then be scheduling a public hearing. This public hearing is the opportunity for you to formally speak to Council and address any questions or concerns, as well as voice your support for the lack of support for the application. Following the outcome of the public hearing, we will be bringing the application back to Council for third reading of the bylaw if they choose to do so. If Council gives third reading of the bylaw, then we will finalize the bylaw for fourth reading and finalize the development permit and present these to Council for a final decision. So in terms of the location of the project, the location of the project is on Vidal Street, and it's kind of mid-block there, just up from Thrift Avenue. In terms of our official community plan and the policy context, this site lies within the town center transition designation. This designation outlines a potential for height transitions, and in this area you'll see here, the height transition is between 4 and 6 stories, and the floor area ratio is set at 1.5. This proposal is consistent with the land use designation of the official community plan and the height transition and floor area ratio outlined by the plan. In terms of the development permit that regulates the form and character of this development is subject to the multifamily development permit area guidelines, and this allows staff to review the form and character of the development, such as materials, colors, and what the building actually looks like. And this actually also allows for the advisory design panel to evaluate the application before it proceeds to Council. In terms of the existing versus the proposed zoning, this site is currently zoned RT1, which is our duplex residential zone in the city. This zone would actually allow for 2 attached homes and would require 4 parking spaces. It would allow for a height of 7.7 meters, or about 2 stories over a basement, and would allow for about 42 or 4,300 square feet, not including the basement and garage on the site. The front setback would be about 7.5 meters, the same as the rear, and the interior side setbacks required would be 1.5 meters. In terms of the proposed zoning, this site would be rezoned to a comprehensive development zone, and it would include a total of 13 apartment units. These 13 apartment units would require 20 parking spaces at a rate of 1.5 parking spaces per unit. You'll see in this table that they are proposing to provide 21 spaces in total, a little bit more than what our zoning bylaw requires. The total height of the building would be 15.4 meters, which is a total of about 50 feet, or 4 stories. And the floor area ratio would be set at 1.5 following the official community plan, and this would equate to about 14,000 square feet. The proposed front setback is 4 meters, the proposed rear setback is 6 meters, and the proposed interior side setbacks on the north and the south of the site are close to 3 meters. I'm going to pass it over to the architect, Gerry Blonski, and Shivam Garg, and the landscape architect, Clark Cavalinas.
Here. Let's go to the context plan over here, Shivam.
Yes, sure.
There's a
Gerry, can you just share your screen, sorry?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a 12-story apartment at Beverly right across the street from us, 100+ units. There's a 5 or 6-story building in the process for development permit right now across the street as well. The rest of the block that we are in is composed of older 3-story buildings. Immediately south of us, there's 6 townhouse units over here. This site over here has got the duplex. It's the most underused site in the entire block. We will be upgrading it to density, which is more in keeping with the rest of the neighborhood over there. What we're proposing is 13 suites. And here's a bit of a breakdown of what the suites are like. On the first floor, we'll have 3 suites. They're all 2-bedroom suites. 2 of the units will have grade level patios at the east side at the rear of the building over here. And the interior one just the balcony at the front, but all suites will have balcony space at the front. The interior suite is about 780 square feet. The other one's about 1,060, a good size. If we go to the second and third floors, those 2 floors are identical over there. We have 2 2-bedroom suites on each end over there, about 1,060 square feet each. And one of them has a den. There's 2 1-bedroom suites on those floors, each about 580 square feet. 2 of those suites, 1 on each floor, will be an adaptable unit. On the 4th floor, we have 2 penthouse suites, a little larger than the other ones. They're 1,130 square feet. They've got large roof decks, about 500 square feet. In the way of common spaces over here for the development, we have a common space. We have the roof plan which we're looking at now. There's a common roof deck, about 220 square feet, which is handicap accessible and available for all the units to enjoy the sunshine and views from the roof. At the first floor level, there's a grade level patio for common use, about the same size. And it's accessible via the ramp from the front around the north of the building to the rear over there. The lobby is large enough for a bit of furniture over there, mailbox of course. And I'm going to let Shivam step in over here And maybe you can talk about the
Yeah.
features for disabled people as well.
Yeah.
And the parking we have downstairs.
Yeah.
Incidentally, before I leave, we have 2 disabled suites and 2 parking spaces for disabled people as well in the building.
Hi everybody, my name is Shivam Garg. I'm working for Gerry. Here I will explain you the site plan of the building. So this property is 1464 at Vidal Street. So we have 2 parking levels in a building. This is the entrance. We just only provided 1 entrance, and then in this entrance, like, people will go in and go out. And also we have provided a loading bay area in front of the building. When you move to the parking level, on the first parking level, we have provided 6 parking spots for the units, and 4 visitor parkings, and in which 6 we have provided 2 parking spots for disabled people, and also have provided elevator elevator at the basement, and fire exit, and we have also provided a garbage room in the basement. This garbage room will be handicap accessible, and if you will go on the lower basement level, we have provided 10 more parking spots for the units, and also have provided 13 locker rooms, for 1 for each unit, and also provided elevator access to the locker room and the parking spots, and also have provided a room for the scooters. And I just want to add, in this lockers, we have provided 1 for each units. Also have space for to park their bicycles. And I'm going to move on to show the renderings, how the building will look like. And I want Gerry will explain you a bit more about the renderings.
Okay, good. The building is actually quite simple. It features the projecting balconies, recesses there as well to give it some depth to the fenestration, and projecting bay windows on the 2nd and 3rd floors as well. The color tone, the color palette is earth tones, which is keeping with most of the buildings in the area there, that part of the White Rock there. We featured culture stone base to the front of the building as well.
And hardy siding and hardy panels on the rest of the building.
Mention here as well that the top floor is set back from the base of the building down below that. It goes back, I think, another almost 2 meters, I guess.
Yes, this is a 2.75 meters on the 4th floor. And from the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor, we have height of each floor is 3.05 meters.
What this project is going to have as well is improvement to the street. Presently, there's no sidewalk there. We're dedicating 2 meters for widening of Vidal Street. We'll be putting new curbs and gutters, sidewalk, boulevard, and street lighting. So we're going to be adding quite an improvement to this little segment of Vidal Street here.
So right now you're looking at the west view of the building. So it will be the front. And I would like to add one more thing. So each unit will have proper cross ventilation. So they're facing to the Vidal Street, and we have provided the windows at the back. So it will keep the units proper ventilated.
All that something else well we missed on the parking. Each parking stall will have electric vehicle charging outlet, and the same goes for the scooter parking as well there.
And I want to explain this rendering. So this is the entrance of the building. So we have provided the ramp for a disabled person to access this building, and also this is the garage door, sorry, parking door.
I'll jump into that as well, that we made the loading bay in front a little wider than the minimum prescribed by the City of White Rock. It's to ease the access of the people coming in and out of that. Most places don't require a loading bay for a smaller apartment, and even for larger ones, but White Rock does, and we comply with that. It'll probably be mostly used for, you know, deliveries like pizzas and whatnot. So we're just over here, short-term parking, pick up and drop off. But it's there for use, and it meets the requirements of the city over there. We've also had Bunt engineering do a traffic analysis of the area, and our development of 13 units is going to have very little impact on the traffic on Vidal Street and Strip. Certainly much less than the proposed 129th Street across the street, and the 100 unit plus the Beverly over there. Bunt has also done an analysis of the parking stalls we provided and our maneuvering aisles there, and find their satisfaction from a practical point of view, as well as meeting the requirements of the City of White Rock. There's been an acoustical study done as well, and they found no unusual problems in this area, and conventional construction for exterior walls and windows should be adequate for this building over here. I think we've pretty well covered quite a lot over here then.
And here's another rendering, the view from southwest of the building.
Yeah, the horizontal lines are hardy siding. The flat panels where the balconies are and the bay windows is going to be hardy panels. Hardy trim as well above that. Tempered glass railings on all the balconies. Culture stone at the base, first floor level.
And there's another rendering from the northwest of the building. And the same thing, like you can see the ramp we have provided, and the bicycle racks have provided to the building. And the same hardy siding and hardy panels are used on the exterior walls. And the stone finish will be on the ground floor.
Can you go to the back side now?
Yeah, and this is the back side, the northeast view of the building.
You can see the grade level patios there. There's 3 of them, one for the common use in the middle and one for the 2 end units on each side of there. This site has got quite a history over here. I think I've been involved with the previous owner and several different attempts. Our first attempt was going to be townhouses. Now this was back about 67 years ago, I guess. It has been to advisory design panel in the past. We had some comments from there. And what we've done as well with the east facade is a bit more architecturally decorated than it was before over here. We've got the brick at the 4th floor level, a different material, a different color up there. The bay windows there at the ends of the bedrooms. So we try to keep it more in keeping with the front. And this, of course, is going to be a view to people towards the east over there. I think we've pretty well gone over this part. Clark, can you step in now and tell us what a great job you've done for the landscaping over there?
Yeah. So
make sure, Clark, we want to have a bird nest in every tree and place for the squirrels.
Thank you, Gerry. Clark Cavalinas, landscape architect for the project. Very quickly, along the north, east, and south boundaries up against property line, we've done a cedar hedge to give it a nice separation from the adjoining properties, as well as to provide some privacy at ground level for the patios at the back and anybody on site at grade. We've wrapped the patios at the back. We've wrapped some broadleaf evergreen landscaping around those patios for year-round color and enjoyment, and as well to give some separation from the walkway that wraps itself around the north and east property, gives those people in the back access to Vidal Street. We've provided some landscaping on the sides of the buildings to soften it as well. And there's a nice little planting pocket out front, just behind the ramp, where we're able to put a couple of nice trees to give it some vertical relief. And that's about it. It's a nice little site.
Yeah, and this is the color rendering of what landscape produced.
The green square at the lower right-hand corner is the transformer.
So
PMT, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Very good, Clark. I think that's good.
So I think we cover up, Tina.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to bring my screen back up here. Just 1 second.
I just would like to add over here as well now, Athena, while we're waiting, but what we've done on this project over here is we sort of filled in the last blank spot, or let's say lower density spot in this block over here. This building is going to bring up this lot to the average density that we have for the remainder of the area. And something about this probably more complementary to the neighborhood as well. The duplex was certainly fine in its time, but it's become dated now, and this is going to have to be that part of it. Also, this building over here now will be the latest standards in sustainability and energy conservation. So it's going to be up to date in that respect to the city of White Rock and be a contribution that way as well.
Thanks, Gerry. So now we're going to move on to questions and comments. So as you can see here on the slide that I have up on the screen, there's going to be a button on the right-hand side of your screen. It's highlighted on the PowerPoint that I'm showing you now. And if you click on this button, it's going to take you to a panel on the side, and you're going to be able to type in any comments or questions you might have. If you'd like to fill out an online comment form after the meeting, there's a link there, www.whiterockcity.ca/calendar. And you're going to be able to fill out comment forms until September 4th. So you have a bit of time. It's till the end of next week. So if you have any additional comments or questions, you can fill out a formal form, or you can send them to me by email. My email is at the bottom of the screen there, avonhausen, VONHAUSEN @whiterockcity.ca. So I'm just going to start publishing comments, and I will read them out loud. So our first comment here is, why not set the parkade deeper underground to lessen the 50-foot height requirement? Why do you need a 50-foot height requirement? So I'll leave that one to you, Gerry.
Okay, well, that's determined by the site grades themselves over here. We're entering the parking garage at the lowest corner on Vidal Street. And we have minimum clearance for the access into the garage, and that's pretty well set our height right there. So that's what determines the height. We've gone about as low as we can go and still provide access into the parking garage. If it had been a steeper site and the lower entrance to the parking garage, the building would have been lower.
Thanks, Gerry. Sorry, I'll just read our next comment here. What sort of street parking will be provided? The front setbacks are not adequate for street parking.
There's no street parking whatsoever. Everything is meets the bylaw. It's contained inside the parking garage.
Yeah, so I'll just add on to that we are requiring a dedication with this specific property. So the street is going to be widened. I might need to get back to you with regards to if there will actually be street parking accommodated in that width or not. So if you, I will make sure that I get back to you if you want to send me an email. Or fill out a comment form and just give me your contact information. I can get back to you on that question.
Street park will be up in the city-wide park.
Yes, that's yeah, for sure. So the second, there's a comment. It says the design fits in with the neighborhood. The next comment is, it is a very good improvement over what is there, needs some street parking out front. The next question is the whole building sprinklered?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. The next comment is, I live at 1480 Vidal and currently there's no street parking available for any visitors. I know they state they have available 4 guest parking spots, but for 13 units, that won't be enough. When coming onto Vidal, you can see that there is never any additional street parking. Guest parking must be increased. Please have the builder address this concern. Thank you.
I think that'll be improved as they widen Vidal Street, which we're making our contribution for.
Yeah, so I'll try to clarify if the widening will actually allow for on-street parking there, and I'll try to get back to anyone who would like that information. The next comment is, overall, I think this is a great project for the neighborhood. I like the loading zone feature. And the next comment is, I would like to see the building sunk lower into the ground. Too many stairs, especially on the east side. So I think, Gerry, you kind of already addressed. Yep.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. It's Greg Newman from the City of White Rock. Just to clarify on the parking, because it was a topic of discussion for those that may be attending. We had a similar digital public information meeting last week about a project at 1441 Vidal, and I know the public on Vidal has an interest in both the on-street parking and the private parking supply. Going down Vidal quite often, it is noticeable with the garbage bins on the street and the on-street parking that it can be constrained in some places. So just on the widening, the engineering department's intention is to, over time, try to get enough land to support a 20-meter wide road allowance, which would allow for 2 vehicle lanes plus on-street parking on both sides of the street. That's kind of the master vision for Vidal. Of course, it may take some time to acquire all the right pieces to be able to make it happen, but this particular project is being required to provide dedication that will allow the city to provide on-street parking at some point in the future. And the only other thing I would mention is the applicant in this case is providing parking as required by the city's zoning bylaws. So they're not seeking, as part of their rezoning application, any relief from the parking supplies. So I know one of the commenters had mentioned that for visitor vehicle parking spaces, it is not enough. I just want to clarify that it is what is required for a 13-unit apartment building.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate the clarification. I think that gives everybody a little bit more information in terms of that street parking will probably take place at some point, but it might not take place right away because the right of way isn't actually wide enough in all areas of the street at this point in time. The next question is, what is the lot coverage of the building?
45%, including balconies and overhangs.
Thank you, Gerry. Are any existing trees being removed?
There is no existing trees to be saved.
What are the energy efficiency aspects specifically?
Whatever the building code requires, we'll do.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on that, or is there anything that will be done? Do you have any knowledge that will be done now, or is that going to be addressed at building permit stage?
Building permit stage.
Okay. The next question is, who is the developer?
Developer is a first-time developer for White Rock, a Chinese lady. She's done some work in Vancouver before. My first time working with her as well. She has a builder that she's familiar with who's done similar buildings like this over here in Burnaby and and Vancouver and Richmond.
Okay, thank you. The next question is the development rental or for purchase? We have 2 comments that.
For purchase.
Yeah. So this is not going to be a rental building. It's a stratified condo building. One person is asking how his questions will be answered. He submitted a number of questions by email. Just to let you know, I have sent those over to the architect, so I'll try to get a response from him for those questions that you have asked. So I'll be replying to your email with the responses when I get them from the architect. The next question is, how does the parquet entrance line up with the Beverly entrance?
We are down the hill from them.
Yeah, so you're a bit further south.
We are, yes, and it's impossible to make them line up because their south lot line is probably about our north lot line.
Thank you, Gerry. Next comment is nice design. I liked the building shape and the finishes. The next question is EV level 2? So is electric vehicle charging on level 2? I think, Gerry, is the electrical vehicle charging just on level 2? I think that you outlined that it was
every parking stall have electrical outlet. Plus
okay.
Every scooter stall as well.
Thank you. Louise is asking, is there 2 parking levels? I think there is. At one point in this design, there was only 1 parking level, I believe.
It's actually quite complicated, Athena. I would say there's 3. There's one at the parking entrance at Vidal level. We go down a ways to what I call the mid level, where we have the 2 handicap stalls, which is level with the elevator, and then there's a lower level beyond that again over here. So it's quite a complicated little parking stall. It took a lot of work there.
Yeah, but there's probably about two full levels of parking. So yeah.
I'd say a level and a half probably.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the next comment is, can you repeat the part about street improvements? I did not catch everything that Gerry said. So I think Greg outlined that our engineering department is taking dedications along Vidal Street to ultimately accommodate a 20-meter wide right-of-way. So that would be 10 meters on each side, and that would accommodate two drive aisle lanes, and then two areas for parking on either side of the street. So so there would be a parking lane, and then a back and forth drive aisle, and then another row of parking on the other side of the street. So I don't know if that answers your question, but those improvements wouldn't be completed right away. They would be completed over time, because at this time currently right now, the city doesn't have all of the land dedicated to actually achieve that 20-meter right-of-way. So this would happen at a later date than right now, but when we do have that land, the city would be looking to improve the whole street. I hope that is enough clarification in terms of that question. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going here. So the next comment is a nice design. He likes the building shape and the finishes. I raised this concern last week at other digital meeting. If both projects are being built at once, this street will be a nightmare.
Athena, maybe I'll just jump in on that one, because I appreciate that the comment had come up last week as well. And I think when you get to the next slide in the presentation and outline next steps, I want to just reassure the public that were fairly early in the process. So this is a public information meeting to raise awareness of the project. We had a similar public information meeting last week about the project at 1441 Vidal. We still need to present things to council. We have to have bylaw readings and a public hearing. So we're early stages still in the project, and so if we do get to a point where hypothetically both projects are approved and both developers wish to proceed with construction at the same time, then the city would be working with both proponents on traffic management to make sure that there was not too great an encumbrance to the flow of vehicle traffic along Vidal. But there will undoubtedly, with any construction, be some disturbance to the street, but there would be a management plan in effect to make sure that it was managed properly.
Thanks, Greg. Our next comment is, I'm wondering why there are no windows on the south and north end of the building.
City bylaws. We have to be 5 meters from the property lines before we can have a window facing the side yard, and we're quite constrained over here in this site to develop it like it is, and that's the reason for that. We've at the southwest corner, we've set the building back so the people at that living room over there will have a view toward the south and the ocean. It might be possible, as you have even considered, to have windows in non-habitable rooms like a bathroom or a kitchen, which we have facing those north and south walls as well. They were proposed at one time, but they were removed for that reason over there, and that probably would be a nice feature to have if you could permit that to happen.
Thanks, Gerry. So to clarify, the enhanced setback requirement, if you're actually proposing windows, is to ensure that there's privacy between buildings. So if you're not set back 5 meters, then you're quite close to another building. And if there's windows right next to each other, then the bylaw is kind of written so that privacy is maintained. The next question is, how many parking spaces are attached to each unit? Are they included in the price of buying a unit?
Generally, every unit gets one space. In this case, there's 4 units left over. They'll be divided as, I guess, as the buyer's desire over there. So there's always a few people, especially White Rock, where we have an aging population, that they have no cars at all. So they'll have a stall probably for friends to come over and sort of something like this over here. But this sort of works itself out, I guess, as the place gets occupied.
So Gerry, are you saying that one space will be likely included with each unit, and then the leftover spaces, there'll be an option to purchase an additional space if a buyer wants to?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what are the energy efficiency requirements of the city's building code? How close to LEED will it be? So this is actually the requirements are under the BC building code, so they're not actually the city's code in terms of energy efficiency. And the city of White Rock actually hasn't adopted any level of the step code. So I think that's just from a city perspective. But Gerry, I don't know if you want to speak to how close the building will be to a LEED standard or not.
I don't think we'll meet a LEED standard, but the step-by-step code is the provincial, or it's part of the building code, which is province-wide, and we have to meet that. I really couldn't give you the details right now. It's a little bit beyond me over here, but it will be certainly up to the current standards.
Thanks, Gerry. We just had an additional comment about electric vehicle charging, and this gentleman is wondering if the what level the chargers will actually be. Will it be a level 2 charger? That's his specific question. I'm not sure if you've chosen what level of charging stations you will have in the building.
No, we haven't yet.
Okay. The next comment is just someone agreeing that it'll definitely be an improvement on the street. The next comment is the traffic study was completed in 2014. The building was completed before the Beverly, before the site was developed opposite the building. And then there's a comment about traffic access via thrift, but I believe the traffic study has been updated.
It was updated March 19, 2019.
Yeah, so when we received this application in 2019, this application had actually been to a public information meeting and the advisory design panel, but because there were some changes, we did require an updated traffic study with the resubmission, and then we also are requiring a new public information meeting, and we are requiring the application to go back to the advisory design panel because there was some changes in the design. So we're kind of taking them back through the steps, and the traffic study was revised, so it does reflect the Beverly. So we have required that from the applicant. So the next comment is, I'm not sure about the first part, but 1441 Vidal, the traffic study for this project, and 1441 Vidal don't recognize the increased traffic on Thrift. So right now the 1441 Vidal project hasn't actually been approved, so their traffic study can't actually incorporate the projected units and traffic that would be anticipated from that project because it hasn't actually been approved, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be approved. So unfortunately, the traffic study right now can't compensate for that proposal because it's not actually a definite something that has been approved by our council. Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. Just because again, this came up last week, and I've been talking with a number of residents about the traffic study, and just as it relates to the traffic study that was done for 1441 Vidal, which is a 129 unit development, so it's a fairly large project by comparison to this project that we're talking about tonight. But that study had looked at a couple of other projects that are under review at Thrift and Vidal, and the study as well assumes a 2% growth rate, so a 2% increase in the volume of traffic that will be feeding into the road network around Vidal and Thrift, which is a fairly standard approach, and I think it's a fairly conservative approach to estimating the natural increase in vehicle traffic. So that was part of the base assumption that was made in the report that went with 1441. And based on the feedback that we got last week, I'll be talking with the applicant of 1441 Vidal, and we can debrief with the applicant of this project on making sure that the two studies are speaking to one another, and that the study that I'll be referring back to the consultants for 1441, I'll be asking that they update it to at least acknowledge the 13 units that are being presented here. So we will try to make sure that there is some alignment between the two.
The next comment was asking if there was a new traffic study done, and there's also a comment about the one that was done for the Beverly not being accurate. So I think Greg just gave a really good explanation, and we'll be reviewing the updated traffic study with the application. The next question is, does every bedroom have a window?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Gerry. The next question is, last week's presentation said there was no concern for a light at the corner of Vidal and Thrift. Due to the incline or decline of Thrift, cars love to speed. The Vidal and Thrift corner is dangerous. Is there any plan for a pedestrian crosswalk if a stoplight is not in the works? This has been asked, sorry. If this has been asked, sorry, I'm late to the meeting. So we haven't had that question. Greg, do you know if the traffic study for 1441 Vidal proposed some sort of traffic calming for that corner, or?
No, so the study by Binney for 1441 Vidal concludes that the volume of traffic doesn't necessitate or warrant signalization, but I think that we can certainly take back to the applicants in both projects, and we'll have to review this with the engineering department as well, but whether or not there'd be any opportunity to have, for example, a signalized pedestrian crosswalk. So that's certainly something we can take back.
Thanks, Greg. The next question is, can you give more comments on the relationship between the street and the building and streetscape? Gerry, I'll pass that one on to you, I think.
The bulk of it is taken up by the access into the parking garage and the loading bay. There's been the steps up the main entrance and the ramp. We have some, we've tried to make the entrance and the steps a feature of it with the cultured stone. And there's a bit of room for some trees there at the north end of this, the front up there. There could be, probably what we could do is maybe we have a transformer at the south end, but we have some landscaping behind that as well. So the front is pretty well taken up, but we tried to make up for that by having a higher quality materials there at the sidewalk level itself.
And Gerry, I would just add that once White Rock gets a final design for Vidal, there's obviously going to be some street trees there as well.
Very good point. Yes, I meant to mention that before. Very good. Thanks, Larry.
The next question is about traffic again. It's more of a comment, but it says staff should look at the traffic volume on Thrift from the Boza Retail stores access, Foster Martin, Phantom, and Royce. These others in place access via Thrift. So we will be reviewing the traffic study, and if you want to, we will have an Excel spreadsheet of all the comments that we received from this evening. So we'll try to follow up on some of these and look into your specific comments in the traffic study. Thank you. Another comment is asking us to please publish the latest traffic study for all buildings on Thrift and Vidal. If you'd like to send us an email, we can provide you with the traffic studies that have been submitted with the 1441 application and the traffic study for this application, 1464 Vidal Street. So you just need to send me an email at the email address on the screen right now at the bottom there. Thank you. The next question is, will there be an elevator, housing and roof top air unit on the roof? Will they exceed the 50-foot height the developer is asking for? Yes,
there will be. The elevator machine will be in the shaft itself, but the extension above the roof will be pretty much normal, usually about 4 feet above the roof. That's pretty well standard.
Yeah, so there's certain exceptions and projections that are allowed to project past the maximum building height. So that could be obviously beyond the 50-foot maximum, like Gerry just outlined. There's a comment, glad there's loading short-term parking spot. Beverly should have had it be in front. In terms of widening Vidal, are you suggesting that properties north of this development would be looked at to provide frontage for this purpose? The city would only require dedication if a property were to redevelop. So that's why the city is not actually likely going to be widening this street for some time right now. Unless it is in one of our capital plans for improvements. Usually we would wait for cash to be supplied by a redevelopment of a site to actually reconstruct a full roadway. So that's why we're taking dedications to achieve this 20-meter right-of-way. but it might not be some time until this right of way is actually fully constructed. I don't know if you want to add anything onto that, Greg, or not.
No, the only thing I would say is I know a lot of people that are participating tonight live either in the Beverly or along Vidal somewhere, and so you can see an example of where the city, through the construction of the Beverly building, took a road widening and used it to create on-street parking, and how on the south end of the Beverly where the parkette is, and you've got some mature trees that have been retained, there's a bit of a narrowing of the street on the south end. I wasn't here at the time, but I suspect it was to maintain those large trees. So yeah, as Athena mentioned, when the opportunity arises to take a widening through a rezoning process, the city will take the widening, but the actual construction of a widened road will not happen until there's sufficient land to make it happen sort of in a contiguous way.
Thanks, Greg. The next comment is, since there is so much increased speeding traffic on Vidal with the Beverly, even before the 2 proposed projects are being built, will the city be using some of the DCCs to add traffic softeners on Vidal Street? So this might be a comment that I actually take back to our engineering department, because I'm not sure what their specific plan is in terms of traffic calming on Vidal Street. And I think that will be largely related to if these projects are approved as well. If there is more traffic on this street, if these projects are approved and there are some concerns, then likely engineering would be determining that if the projects are approved. A comment, one of our attendees tonight thinks that the presentation last week vastly underestimated the increase in traffic. Thank you. The next question is, roof garden and on-site amenity would be nice, don't you think, regarding the location, I believe. So I don't know if you want to comment on the provided lack of, I guess, roof garden or roof garden that you're proposing. I think that there's an outdoor amenity space on the roof. Is that correct, Gerry? Does that still? There
is, and probably what we should do is to add some landscaping to do that. Clark, we'll have to talk about that a little bit. I think we should add a bit of landscaping in the common space and probably some for the private roof decks as well.
Yeah, and a lot of times with those amenity spaces, it's good to leave them as flexible as possible, to put some landscaping up there, but leave them as flexible as possible so the strata, based on the demographics that move into the building, can put something there that's useful for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So there is an outdoor amenity deck provided on the 4th level. I don't know if that was really touched on in the presentation, but there is an outdoor amenity area on the 4th level that would be common, and then there I think is a common area in the rear outdoor as well. Is that correct, Gerry?
That's great.
Yeah.
The grade level first floor and the roof deck.
Yeah, thank you. So the next comment is, does staff review each study provided by developers in isolation for their site? So at the time we're considering an application, there might be multiple applications in process. So we don't know which applications council is going to approve, and the traffic studies can consider, like Greg said, an increase in the amount of traffic, a 2% increase in the amount of traffic over the period of time, and incorporate those assumptions into their traffic studies. But unfortunately, staff can't really evaluate based on another building being approved, because the building might not be approved. So usually we look at what the traffic study assumptions are, and not necessarily if all of these buildings are approved. But I do understand your concern about evaluating all of these buildings being approved and what they would do to traffic. The next question is, there was always street parking on Vidal Street on the Beverly side. They were actually supposed to provide more area for a wider road, but it did not seem to happen. So Greg, I don't know if you know about the widening on Beverly's side, but I believe the dedication that was taken was to achieve the 20-meter right-of-way, and the dedication actually achieved that that dedication on the side of that side of the road. So typically what would happen is each property on each side of the road, they would take an equal amount from both of those properties to achieve the 20-meter right-of-way. So they took a section from the Beverly side, and then they would have to take a section from the other side of the street in order to achieve the right-of-way. So I'm not sure, but we might have to get back to you on that comment about providing more area than what was actually provided, because I'm not sure the background on that specifically. So please, if I'm saying that I'm going to respond to your question, we don't have the information now, please send me an email or fill out a comment form with your information, and I'll be able to get back to you. The next comment is, permits became an afterthought when the Beverly was being built. Please place permit parking for present residents a priority. So we can take that comment into consideration. We have a manager of parking that would be making recommendations in terms of permit parking only. And I don't know how we would necessarily determine current residents versus future residents, and how we would kind of deal with parking passes like that. It might get a little bit complicated, but we can talk to our parking manager about this specific project and how we would deal with something like that. Thank you. The next question is, thrift traffic study, does the White Rock OCP consider and all? Sorry, I just don't understand the second part of the question. So maybe you could just type in and clarify what you meant by the second part of the question. I think it has something to do with traffic and the OCP, please. Is there any handicap suites, and how many bedrooms will they have? Gerry, can you talk to this?
Two adaptable suites, and each one's a 1-bedroom, and each adaptable suite has a accessible parking stall as well.
Great, thank you, Gerry.
This is far above the average which is provided in these facilities. Usually it's about 5%. Here we've got 2 or 13, or almost 15% in this case over here, so we're well above the average.
Thanks, Gerry. So we have a comment about there being 4 lanes on Vidal Street, but it wouldn't be 4 lanes, so it would be 2 parking lanes, and then it would be two lanes of traffic. So it would still just kind of be what it is now, but you'd have parking on either side of the street. So there wouldn't be four lanes for vehicle traffic. It would just be 2 lanes for vehicle traffic, and then two parking lanes on either side of the street, to clarify. What is the expected sale price of the units? I'm not sure if you have that information available, but Gerry.
I don't know what it is, Athena.
Okay. So a lot of times the unit price isn't really determined because it's based on the market at the time of the sale of the unit. So it can change, and I guess we don't have that information right now, but it can change. And even if we did have that information right now, if this building started marketing and selling the units in a year, it could be a very different environment than it is today. Oh, the OCP talks about building. Does it talk about street parking? So actually, our engineering department deals with street parking and which streets can actually provide street parking. So the OCP doesn't get into kind of prescribing which streets have to have street parking. The OCP is more policy related and future direction, which yes, obviously street parking on streets that don't have it would be something that happens in the future. But we leave it up to engineering to actually address those things. And we are actually, our engineering department is working on a plan for how to construct roads and which roads will be constructed first, and that would also address where they would be looking to provide street parking.
Sorry, Athena, if I can just maybe add a bit to that, because there's another comment sort of tied out about the 4 lanes and sort of ... 20 meters, and maybe there's a question about where does the 20 meters come from. And there's this idea, it's called a complete street idea. It's where you have, if you had all the space in the world, you're doing greenfield development, so not sort of redevelopment of existing sites in an established part of a city. You would try to have sidewalks on both sides of the street. You'd have a bit of a planted boulevard with street trees. You'd have on-street parking perhaps on both sides of the street, and then you'd have 2 lanes of vehicle traffic. The OCP does at a high level sort of contemplate some of those features. I'm just sort of, as Athena's starting the response, I'm looking at our OCP and some of the specifics. So if people did want to check section 13 of the OCP, there's reference to trying to have clear walking widths of 1.5 meters, so sidewalks, planting strips, and other features that, like I say, contribute to what's referred to as a complete street. And I think if you Google complete street, you'll see a lot of examples of different road allowance widths, so that's sort of the edge of the city-owned portions. Local streets like this one would be 20 meters typically, and then as you get into a higher classification street, you would have 23, 25, maybe even 30 meters like North Bluff Road, for example. So that's kind of what we're referring to. The city right now is trying to have Vidal ultimately perform as a 20 meter wide road allowance with all those features within it.
The next comment is 2 lanes for traffic and 2 lanes for parking, not true. So I think right now it might seem like that's not achievable and there isn't the space for it. But ultimately that's what engineering is planning with that space. So I'll leave it there. Another comment, right now delivery trucks park on the side of Vidal that has no parking. Where will they park when there is parking on both sides? We really need some short-term spots on the street, which I realize will reduce this parking spots available. So there may be short-term parking spaces on the street, but that's really why we have our loading space requirements, so that short-term delivery vehicles can use the loading space to actually park, drop things off. If someone is requiring a move and they need to move in or out of the building, the moving truck can actually park in that loading space. So this is how the city is trying to address on-site loading so that it's actually not on the street. And our manager of parking, in terms of short-term parking, like 15-minute parking, we're trying to move away from that and just have loading on site. But if there are issues on the street, then he would kind of determine what would be the best solution for the problem. What about the ID study? Gerry, are you doing the ID as well? Appliances, finishes, and RCPs. I think there's a lot of acronyms in there, and I don't know if
we don't do the interior design.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't think we will either. Usually, there are people who are familiar with the latest products and trends, whatnot, which do that sort of thing.
Yeah, so a lot of times at this stage in the project, the interior finishes haven't actually been defined yet, and those would be usually defined before the building permit is submitted if council actually approves the application. I don't see any other, oh, never mind. Is this a concrete building or wood frame?
The residential part is wood frame, the parking structure, of course, is concrete. So from the first, there'll be a slab at the first floor level, concrete slab. Above that, it's wood frame.
So concrete at the bottom where the parking is, and then wood frame above.
The first floor slab will be the first floor will be concrete below, wood frame above.
Okay, so first floor and the parkade will be concrete, and then the 3 levels above will be wood frame.
That's right, 4 levels above.
Great. This comment is wondering if the engineering department is looking at this street parking on both sides. Would that mean they would need to take away land from existing developmental units? If so, would there be compensation to the stratas? So I think I addressed this comment a little bit before. We wouldn't be coming in and taking land from anyone. We would only be requiring a dedication if a site were to redevelop at some point. So if a building were to reach the end of its life and the strata couldn't pay to maintain the building anymore and it was falling apart and the site were to redevelop, that's probably a long time for some of these buildings, maybe a shorter time for others, and the site were to redevelop, that's the time that we would be actually taking the dedication. So we wouldn't be coming in and taking a dedication arbitrarily and requiring you to dedicate land to construct the road and provide this parking. So that's kind of why I outlined that the ultimate road width of 20 meters might take a while to actually achieve here. Will there be CCTV cameras? Where would they be?
Well, there'll be cameras, of course. That's common at the front entrance, of course, and parking garage.
Thanks, Gerry. So this is a comment about greenfield development. Is 1441 Vidal defined as a greenfield and therefore able to be asked by traffic studies to narrow their site to accommodate setbacks, green space, and parking in front?
Athena, that might be, it's probably, sorry to jump
Sure,
in.
yeah, no, Greg, that's
That's probably a reference to the comment I made about the difference between this site and a greenfield site. So what I meant by that is a greenfield site is more traditionally, if you're in a larger municipality, like say the city of Surrey, and you've got the edge of your urban developed city, and then you have the green fields, which are the never developed before lands, like often farmland or agricultural scrubland or woodland. So that's what's referred to as greenfields. So the desired standard today in a greenfield development for a local road would typically be 20 meters, but when White Rock was settled and developed many years ago, they would not have developed the road network with 20-meter wide road allowances. So when we have the opportunity today, we do try to take the road dedication to achieve a road allowance, a road allowance width. So that means not just the paved surface of the road, but all the other features that go in there within a 20-meter wide space.
Thanks, Greg. The next question is, why do you think this project will develop our community, or what will this project provide?
I would say it was already mentioned before, the present use of the site is below the standard that the neighborhood, and we'll be bringing it up to standard.
Thanks, Gerry. The next comment is, so these parking lanes will be really far into the future. It's not helpful. So yes, ultimately achieving this right of way, our engineering department would be actually determining when this construction would happen. So if there's an opportunity to actually connect a sidewalk and create the space, then we would likely have an application proceed forward. Greg, I don't know if you talked about when the construction would happen for 1441 Vidal last week, but it might be that because that site is at the corner of Vidal and Thrift, and that it would connect up to the park in the Beverly, that construction would happen actually right away. But likely for 1446 Vidal, we would wait until we had like a larger section to actually do all together. So it wouldn't kind of be the sidewalk to nowhere at this time. Do you have anything to add to that, Greg?
No, I think that's right. Normally you do the actual construction of the sidewalk in a fairly logical way. So yeah, I think like you say, the Beverly building, if 1441 were to proceed to construction, it would be a logical connection of the sidewalk there moving south towards Thrift. 1464, if it were approved, I think it may be that the city takes the land and sits on it until there's enough to make it worthwhile to install some of the features.
Thanks, Greg. If anyone has any more comments or questions, please write them in the box. I can also just go through the next steps with the project again, if anyone would like to kind of have a reiteration of those. So maybe I'll do that now while we have kind of a break in comments, and I'll come back to the comments when I'm just done walking through the next steps for the project again. So in terms of next steps, this application is going to be reviewed in terms of the feedback that we received today, and any potential changes to the proposal will be discussed with the developer. And then following that, we're going to be presenting the application to the advisory design panel. So this advisory design panel actually reviews the form and character of what's being proposed, the materials, and they evaluate the design based on our multifamily development permit area guidelines. After the application goes to our advisory design panel, staff would be writing a report. So we would be preparing a zoning bylaw amendment for first and second reading and drafting a development permit. And this report and the associated bylaw and development permit would be presented to the Land Use and Planning Committee. And then it would move forward to council for first and second reading. So if council does give the application first and second reading, we would be moving forward and scheduling a public hearing for the application. And this public hearing would give you the opportunity to formally speak to council. So you would be able to comment on the application, voice your concerns, voice your support for the application. So this would be your time to formally address council based on this application. After the public hearing, the application would be brought back to council for third reading of the bylaw. So at this time, they might choose to move the application forward or deny the application. If they do choose to move the application forward, we would finalize the bylaw for fourth reading, and we would also finalize the development and present this to council for a decision. So before fourth reading actually happens, and if council were to give the application third reading, there would be a number of conditions that would have to be satisfied with the development. This could be submitting securities for their civil works, so their servicing agreement, or registering a restrictive covenant, or providing the dedication to the city that would be required with this application. There can be other things that would be required too, but there's a number of things that the developer actually has to do before council will give the application fourth reading. So hopefully that provides a kind of brief overview of the next steps for the application. And I don't believe we have any more questions or comments at this time, so I'll just wait a few minutes here. Thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. We hope this public information meeting was informative for you. We'll be here until 7 o'clock, so there's about 15 more minutes. If anyone would like us to go through anything again, they missed something, please let us know in the comment box, and we'll be happy to reiterate or repeat anything that was missed.
Well, I'll say thank you to the residents as well over here who brought up the questions over there. It helps us to make a better building that's going to be a better contribution for White Rock. So everyone's ideas are welcome.
Thanks, Gerry.
Athena, do you have any idea when we might be able to go to AGP?
Gerry, we can probably talk about that after the meeting's finished. Yeah. We have just another comment here that's kind of providing a reiteration about a lot of the concerns with traffic about this development, and I think others in the area like 1441 Vidal. So we appreciate your comments about the traffic. And we definitely have heard those comments during the other meeting too. So that's going to be obviously a big outcome of the public information meeting for both this and 1441 Vidal. And that will be likely noted in the public information meeting summaries and the comments provided to council. And we would really encourage you to fill out a comment form if you want to elaborate on your concerns too. So please feel free to do that if you'd like. Oh, okay. We just have a thank you comment. And so someone just arrived to the meeting, so they'd like to see the plans again. So Gerry, maybe if you want to just share your screen again and just kind of give maybe like a very brief overview of the site plan and some of the aspects that you went over in terms of the units that are proposed. Just a quick synopsis of what you provided earlier.
Sure. Okay. So then, can you find those?
Yep. Sure, Anjana.
Go to the first floor first. Yeah, here we are. Okay, entrance over here. Can you show the entrance over here, Savannah?
Entrance.
Entrance here, going up there.
So, yeah, this is the entrance of the building.
No, I meant the entrance on the floor plan.
On the floor plan?
Yeah. Yeah. Here we are, good. To the left is a two-bedroom suite with a balcony in the front, and then the grade level patio at the rear over there. And it's quite a ways down. This is two bedrooms with a den. There's a stairway off the den which goes down to the grade level patio. To the right of the entrance is a two-bedroom suite with the recessed balcony. And on the south side, there's a suite similar to the one on the north side, two bedrooms with den, and it's got a grade level patio as well. This one is a little bit different because the living room is set back, so we can have windows on the south side, give her a 5-meter setback to the east from the south property line, and they have a bit of a view down towards the water there. Up above, the second floor and the third floor is the same. We have two-bedroom suites on the north and south end. In the middle, we have two one-bedroom suites, and on the south side of the center line, that one-bedroom suite there is an adaptable unit, just wheelchair accessible. Larger bathroom, more spacious kitchen, and so that's the third and second and third floors. The fourth floor, the largest suite of all, penthouse level. They're 1,130 square feet. Good size living rooms. One has on the south side has a den as well. Large 500 square foot roof decks. Lots of glass facing the west and the different directions there.
Gerry, do you just want to give a synopsis of how many units per floor? That's one of the comments we have on our.
Well, the first floor has 3. Second and third floors have 4 each, and 2 on the fourth floor. Total of 13.
Thanks, Gerry.
Just correct. After all this time.
Do you want to just show the exterior of the building? I guess this person wasn't here at the beginning when you guys presented, so maybe just give them kind of a synopsis of the outside of the building. So the total unit count, the number of parking spaces, you could walk through some of those items as well.
Well, we go down to the basement over here. Let's go to the parking level. Let's go there first. Okay, this is the entry level of the parking garage. There's 3 visitor stalls just opposite the front entrance. Then we go down to the middle level on the left-hand side. There's 2 handicap stalls there. a total of 7 stalls there, I guess it is. Garbage facilities as well. And then on the upper level of that, we go down to the lowest level of parking, which is for the 10 units over there. Plus the lockers. Each locker has its own bicycle space. Those lockers there are very generous size. Each one's about 6 feet by 10 feet, which is probably double or maybe 3 times what you'll find in most developments. And there's a space inside each locker there for a bike if you want, or more than one if you want. If you don't have a bike, you could have more space to put things. As a front elevation now, let's go to that over here, Savan. Okay, can we, yeah,
You want me to do renderings?
yeah, the rendering would be better,
Sure.
yeah, a little lighter than it, sure. Okay, the base of the building's got a sculpture stone finish, as a decorative feature there. The buildings are basically hardy siding, cement board. The balconies have hardy trim and hardy paneling. The upper level, which is set back from the floor below that, is the leisure tone of the hardy siding. Bay windows project outwards. They have hardy panels between the windows. There's a good view of from the southwest.
And this is the northwest other end of the building.
That's great, yeah. See the ramp going up there?
Yeah, I'm going up. And this is the back northeast view of the building. And the same bay windows are provided at the, both ends. And yeah.
The color palette we've chosen there is quite similar to what you find in a lot of the buildings which were constructed probably 25, 30 years ago in White Rock. Those tones.
So, any other question, Tina?
No, I think that's good if you guys are finished. If anyone else has any more questions that just joined us and listened to the brief presentation about the architectural design of the building, please enter those into the comment box. We have a question, we have a comment about if people in the Beverly building actually use their parking spaces, there would be actually enough on-street parking. I'll just keep going to, will the duplex be demolished anytime soon, or will they wait for approval? So I think, is the duplex occupied by occupants right now, Gerry? I think it is.
It is, yes, and demolition
Yeah.
until there was firm approval that the project can proceed.
Yeah, so
That's the perfect
typically, yeah, so typically a building wouldn't be demolished until there's either approval for a larger building, or they are building a duplex on the property and there's building plans submitted. So we don't want sites to just sit empty. So the duplex would remain until some sort of approval or denial would be made on the application. This is, I think, a comment. When all is said and done, please, I ask these new developments on both sides of Vidal to coordinate garbage pickup days. She's asking that they could hire the same company as the Beverly, and the pickup would be all done in one day. So I believe our operations department coordinates garbage pickup, but I guess some of the garbage pickup is done by private companies. I'm not sure. I think that we do pick up garbage, but I think some of the other organics might not be picked up by the city. So you might have private. Greg, is that correct? I don't want to be saying the wrong thing right now.
Sorry, the question was, how do we manage garbage pickup?
Yeah, and it was more about if pickup could be coordinated, and I think the city would be coordinating pickup all on the same day. But I don't know if we pick up organics or not, and that might just be a private company. I'm just not sure about that part of it, but we might have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, I think.
I guess you would know, because if you're living there, you would know if if we pick up organics or not. So yeah, so she said yes, condos are private pickup. So okay, so typically the operations department would be coordinating garbage pickup that we do as a city all in the same day, if it's feasible. So they would be coordinating that pickup. But if it is done, if that part of it is done privately, like the organics, for example, that's up to the private company, and your stratas might want to actually talk. If this building is constructed, the stratas might actually want to get together and talk and hire the same company to all do the pickup at once. That's a really great idea. There's a comment about the duplex being in terrible shape. And we just have a couple more comments clarifying the garbage pickup. So we're almost at our end point right now. We have about 2 more minutes. So if anyone has any further questions or comments, please write them in the box now. We obviously really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy evenings to participate in a public information meeting. So again, thank you very much. Your comments and your questions will form a summary report, and those will be used to inform the project, and they will also go to council for their consideration. So it's very helpful to have your participation in events like these. And we'll shut down in about 2 minutes here, but we'll be online until 7. So please write your comments in the Q&A box if you have any additional comments, and thank you everyone for joining us. Okay, I'm going to end the live event now. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.